Hi, everybody. Welcome to What the Talk. This is our bonus show. We record this live each and every week exclusively on patreon.com/whatthetech. I'm Andrew Zarin. I'm joined by Mr. Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. I am not doing pretty good.
Yeah, I know. I'm not really. I don't know why I said that.
We've had a bad couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We really have. I don't know what it is. It may be the fact that you're coming to New York all the time. We're hanging out. Maybe it's like thrown off our entire relationship.
Right.
It's possible. I think us being in the same, because every week you're in New York now. This is your new life.
It's weird.
This is what you do. You come down to New York every other week. We drink for a couple hours, right, and then you go home, and then I see you the next week. When
I go to Vegas at the end of October, I should demand that I stay at New York, New York.
Where do you know where you? Oh, I don't know if you want to say where you're saying, but
no, I'm at the MGM. I mean, okay. That's what the event is.
Okay. Yeah, you're always here now. You're always here.
Yep. It's good. I like coming to New York. I mean, I've gone through periods like right now where I go a lot. I've gone through really dry periods where I kind of miss it and haven't been there.
I mean, for a couple of years, you aren't really coming too much.
It's just the schedule, where events are. I mean, so Microsoft has started doing more stuff on the East Coast again, thankfully. For a while, they were just hung up on San Francisco for some reason. I think the right way for them to do it is to do separate San Francisco, New York events, which they used to do, and now they're doing again. And then, the hardware makers, I meet with companies like Lenovo and HP, Motorola. They do that thing, they East Coast, West Coast. And so when they do East Coast, they're in New York City. And it's an easy trip in for me. So it's good.
Is it a pain in the ass for you to go back? Like when you go back, is
going
it just
home
like,
is the
I just want to be home by now?
Even on the fast train, it's terrible. But the worst experience going home is on the slow train. It is literally, not literally, I guess, but it is a horrific long, I call it toaster minutes. Like if you're standing there waiting for the toaster to finish toasting the toast, and for some reason, 1 minute and 20 seconds, which goes by in a flash in normal time, when you're staring at the toaster, it takes like 2 hours. It's like that. It's like toaster minutes going home.
How long does it take you?
Well, the fast train's 3.5 hours. The long train's like 4:15-ish, but it feels like, seriously, it feels like 6. It feels like flying across the ocean.
Well, because you're a little loaded, right? You're on that train, you're a little loaded. We've been drinking for like 3-4 hours, and you're like, okay, I'm on the train. You get sleepy, you're tired, and then at one point you're like, oh my God, when is this ending?
I've had too much to drink to write.
Yeah. Which
is vaguely bothersome to me because I have all this time in front of a computer and I should be working. And so I watch like a movie or try to read something, and honestly, my heart's not in any of it. And I don't want to fall asleep because, knowing me, I would fall asleep and then wake up in Boston or something, and having gone by my stop.
You wake up in Montreal.
Yeah, once in a while. I can't. It ends in Boston. But.
Yeah. I don't know. Like for me, like my train ride is about. It's like, what's amazing? So whenever we go to the train, like there's a point in our meetup where I run.
Yep.
I'm like, I see you later, and I just bolt. I just have to bolt because I always miss my train by like a minute, or I'm on.
By the way, every time we do that, I'm usually right there when it happens. Like usually in the station. Sometimes it's outside the station. There's always some like a big guy in like a military fatigues with like an AK-47
rifle.
Always,
yeah.
Maybe an M16 or whatever that is. I guess it's an M16. And I always think, man, he's gonna get tagged in the ass by this.
Just guy. Me, just running like a lunatic.
Yeah, you're gonna go by the guy, and he's gonna be like, "Yeah, I don't think so."
No, but it's such a normal.
Just take him down.
But it's such a normal thing in Manhattan. Like,
sure.
You see that. I love like seeing the barefoot women. Like they take their shoes off because now they got to run. So they're running with their shoes like hooked on their finger.
If you could imagine a less clean place than Penn Station.
To run but they're running from like God knows where. They've been running for like 15 minutes. That run is not fun.
No.
To do. The other thing I was blown away by is the homelessness. The homeless problem that we've seen here in New York. I mean, it's just ridiculous at this point by the station, but you're coming up all the time now. And then I feel like this is it. This is the last one, and then you're done. You're not coming anymore.
No, I'm actually, that's not true. I'm coming back in October again for an HP event.
Yeah, and I think I may be away for that.
Oh, my God. See, now that's your fault.
Yeah, I think I may be away for that, so that's my fault. So, Paul, I wanted to talk to you about this. We've had a lot of unveilings happen over the last couple of weeks, right? I feel like a lot has gone on. Windows 10, new devices, new hardware, new iPad, new iPhone. A lot of this is happening, and then we have periods that nothing happens.
Right.
I feel like everything is now concentrated around this time. Is that a positive or negative for everybody? Like even like when was it? 2 years ago when the Xbox came out, or was it last year when the Xbox came out?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Like everything happened at the same time, and everybody's saying, well, like, wow, this actually is really bad because for the first time, PlayStation and the Xbox are coming out at the same time, and it really didn't make a difference in the long run.
The timing of it, you mean?
The timing of it, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a good time for news cycles because people are starting to think about the holidays, and yeah, I think it's just always kind of worked out that way. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I remember Apple used to do 2 events. Like they do a kind of an iPod type event in September, then they would do
this is the iPod event technically, right? This is
well,
taking
and then
over the iPod
right,
event.
but then the iPad entered the mix. Now then it sort of changed into like iPhone and then iPad instead of iPod, iPhone, or whatever. And this year they did everything all in one event, which actually was fine. I mean, I think these companies all do a little bit of mental math on whether it makes sense to have like a single big bang explosion of stuff or have separate events. Microsoft certainly did it. They were originally going to do the phone stuff in September by itself. And now they're doing one thing. I mean, maybe for Apple, if Apple had announced, imagine if Apple had had an iPad announcement by itself in November, right?
An iPad announcement in November, okay.
If they just did iPad, right?
Okay.
So obviously they would have had the same exact stuff for iPad Pro, but they would have had to have talked about the only other thing they changed was like this iPad Mini, which is just a ridiculous update. And I think there would have been a little bit of negativity around that there isn't really much to say because there really isn't around the traditional iPad. And I think by lumping them together, the little down notes aren't as big of a deal because you've got so much, new phones, new Apple TV, new iPad Pro. We got this other stupid thing no one cares about. Like it's fine, it gets lost in the mix because there's so much good stuff. If they were just talking iPads, it would have been a very different story.
You know what else has gotten thrown by the wayside? The Apple Car feature. What is it called? The CarPlay.
CarPlay. It's happening. I mean, the problem for Apple, and this is true on the Android side as well, is that it's happening on the car maker schedules. Those guys move really slow, but I actually, I'm starting to see that. I think it was GM and at least one other car maker. They're releasing cars that have both of these systems. So it's happening. I mean, they announced this thing like a year and a half ago. And that they're on automaker time now,
Yeah, but I think now they're looking like by 2019 or 2018, the cars are going to have it. And I'm like, they ain't.
Oh no, though they're already shipping some now. Like 2016 model year cars have this stuff.
Not, but here's I don't know what car right now has this.
Let me look it up because there are some. Mercedes and Volvo and some others were all slated to ship CarPlay-enabled vehicles last year.
Yeah, and they didn't.
Right. But back in March, GM rolled out CarPlay and Android Auto across 14 models. And actually, they announced it. So that's happening this year. So that must be what's happening.
Yeah,
now.
but they may have delayed
Cruise, Malibu, Camaro, Silverado, Impala, Volt, Suburban, Colorado, Tahoe.
I cannot find a car that has it. If anybody knows a car that has it,
I think you can get them you must be able to get like a Chevy Cruze.
I don't want a Chevy Cruze.
I know you don't, but
let's see.
Get a Chevy Impala then. I don't know.
What cars have CarPlay? This is the question I just asked Google.
Yeah.
Which 2016 cars have CarPlay? The Ferrari FF.
Did you just ask Siri that question?
No. I just put it in Google.
Okay.
30 vehicles are supposed to have it.
Yep.
Okay, so here we go. The Buick
Siri
LaCrosse, the Buick Regal.
Yep.
The Cadillac ATS, the Cadillac CTS, the Cadillac ELR, the Escalade, the XTS, Chevy Colorado, Corvette, Cruze, Impala, Malibu. I don't know if this is accurate.
Right. I'm looking at the Cruze. They still have some baloney, whatever it's called, terrible looking system. I don't know what's going on there.
Okay, Chevy. I'll tell you right now because I went and I saw the new Yukons, their SUV.
Yep.
And they did not have it. and they said it was delayed. So I don't know if just these were not implemented with it yet, or... Okay, let me see here. SUVs. Let's go to the Tahoe. Let's see if it says anything about this. View interior. Let's see, Apple. Ah, look at that. Oh, it has support for Apple CarPlay. Vehicles have support for it. It has My Link. So some of them have support, but it doesn't work yet.
Okay.
Oh, that's
yeah, the
such
My Link
baloney.
thing looks terrible.
Huh?
It looks like a punishment.
The My Link?
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like a bad, 2003 computer animation. It looks really bad. And who knows? Maybe it's really good. I mean, they all look awful. So, they're all horrible at this point. Yeah, the cars that are out now, the 2016s. I'm curious if they all have it or they could support it for later use. Because I was reading somewhere where you have to go to the dealership and they have to, do something. So, I'm not too sure.
I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be buying a car anytime soon.
But you know what's amazing? So why can't I? And this is the thing that bothers me about this, right? Mm-hmm. So why can't I just buy an adapter to connect to my system?
Like a head, like a
not a head
CarPlay
unit.
Box
yeah, like
something.
a CarPlay in a box. You just connect it to whatever you were, to the somehow, or you go to the dealer.
I think it needs to be. I don't know. I think it needs to be integrated into the system.
Because what if I want to have, Android Play or Android?
Well, no,
Car,
most of these cars have both.
They have both.
This is not This is not a. You don't get CarPlay and nothing else. Some people are going to buy these cars that don't have Apple devices, obviously. So a lot of these will have both, and they'll still have whatever baloney the car maker has. So it's just a.
I mean, I just don't understand why everybody is not just using Google Maps for everything. Why are they even bothering with their own navigation systems that are awful? It's...
Well, by the way, some of them aren't all that awful. And I will say, because we were there, because we used such a system this summer in France, I mean, having a big screen actually is kind of cool. And in some circumstances, the built-in car navigation that we saw was actually better than Google. So I kind of thought the same way, but having used the one that's built into the car, it's not always terrible.
Interesting. I don't know. My lease is over, in 2 weeks, and I have no idea what I'm getting. It's
going to be a Chevy Cruze.
Oh God. I have no idea what to do. This is the first time that I've waited so long to hand in my lease.
Right.
There's just nothing that I want, and I'm gonna get screwed regardless because I got such a good deal on this car when I got it. Well, I know I'm gonna pay like $150 more a month for whatever I get, and it won't be as good. I'm dreading just going in there and getting a new car at this point, because everybody does something crappy,
Yep.
Like the Infinities. If I went with another Infinity, they've fallen behind so much when it comes to technology in the car. It's just ridiculous. I could go with a Chevy or like a Ford, but there's nothing that I really like. I like the Yukon, but it's way too big and way too much money for a Chevy. I'm just gonna go buy a Fiat. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna buy two Fiats. We're gonna be like
clown car.
Yeah, we're gonna be two little clowns, and Jess will have a Fiat, and I'll have my Fiat, and we'll just drive around in our stupid little Fiats. Which I actually
recommend against that.
I'm a big fan of those Fiats, by the way. I think they're adorable.
You've clearly never ridden in one.
Have you?
Oh yeah, okay. I have a friend who owns one.
How does he like it? Hates it?
It's the automotive equivalent of having a sex change operation. I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking there. I mean, I like the European small car thing. I don't, but this one's it's just stupid. I don't quite get it. I don't know. It's a bit much.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Somebody said get a Volkswagen. I was looking at the Audi, the Q5 or the 5Q, whatever that is. Their SUV. Like the
SUV car, yeah.
Yeah, their SUV. And here's the other issue. I don't need a 7-passenger. I don't want a 7-passenger.
Yeah. There are some nice crossover-sized vehicles from many companies, including, I'm sure, VW, Audi, that would be worth looking at.
Yeah, I like their SUV, the
Even the
Q5.
Buick, whatever the Buick one's called, like a Envoy or something. Or
I'm not ready for a Buick yet. I got a couple years.
no, Buicks have changed.
I
Man.
know,
It's
I
just
know.
just like in the ads.
Yeah, nobody recognizes them. That's the
Or
greatest.
a Lincoln, same thing.
That's the greatest commercial. Have you seen that one? Where like people
Yeah,
are
they're
walking
like,
by.
I don't, like,
like
where
which
are you?
car
I'm
are
like,
you
I'm
in?
right here.
The
I'm
Buick.
waiting up front.
The one that says Buick on it.
Like,
That's a
nope.
Buick. Yeah, been the same logo for about 100 years.
Chevy Chase used to call them the Oldsmobile Buick.
Yeah, it's the same car.
Driving a late model Oldsmobile Buick.
I wonder, how many young people have bought Buicks? Like, who owns a Buick, like an 80? Well, no,
Like
those Grand Nationals were great.
By the way, no one owns one of those now. Those things have all fallen into the earth. Yeah, Buick Grand National. It was like the Buick Monte Carlo.
The Grand National was a
Basically.
phenomenal car.
Yeah,
An 88 Grand National?
that design is classic. That's the classic Cutlass design.
Yeah.
I mean, that body style, today would be beautiful.
My
Like,
father had that. My father had an 88 Grand National.
Yep.
It was so
I had
ridiculous.
a four-door Oldsmobile Cutlass, so it wasn't quite the same, but it was, that style of vehicle. It was a little older than that, but geez, what is going on with these? Something is making the loudest sounds. I'm sorry. Why do my devices make sounds?
And it was a 6-cylinder, the Grand National.
But it was a turbo, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a turbo.
Grand National, yeah.
It was a 3-point-something turbo.
Yep.
This was their proof that the Americans can make something other than a 350 push rod that
Come
had
on,
some
that was
balls.
that's like picking a flower out of a pile of dung. I mean, like most of the stuff that GM was making at the time was crap. I'm sure that was probably. I guess it wasn't because you said it was 6 plus. It was a turbo 6-cylinder, but it almost seems like the type of thing like, we make this kind of like normal family type car, and then we make a Corvette. What would happen if we
Combine the two.
Yeah, we just kind of mixed them up,
Well, they had the Camaro for years, then that was a one, and even now, like I see it, like I was always a fan of the Camaro because my dad had
I was
one
too.
also. Like growing up, he had like a lot of these muscle cars, and then like I look at him now and I'm like, it's a little plasticky, you know?
Well, right, of course. I mean, things have changed, but yeah, my dad had a Camaro Berlinetta that I loved, even though he only had a 6-cylinder and it was super underpowered. And I had a friend who went through so many Z28s, mid '80s Z28s. But I always
IROCs.
yeah, he had an IROC, at least one IROC. And those cars were like, they're sleds, but I don't know. I've always had kind of a soft spot for that kind of car.
I don't know.
It's
I always have
irrational.
Yeah, like I've only owned one American car, and it was such a disaster. I had a Jeep, and it was such a disaster. And I went to Japanese cars, and I never had a problem.
Right.
And then but I got such a soft spot for like the American bulky, loud, like.
Well, that loud I'm not too into.
Like I want Edelbrock headers on the thing, and I want it to be obnoxious.
15 years ago, I went to buy a car, and I was going to buy like a new car, and it was going to be my first new car. And I looked. The very first place I went was to look at the Camaro, and this is remember they discontinued Camaro and then they brought it back, and I don't like the new Camaro at all. I just don't like it. But back in 2000, they still had that kind of old body. It was like the end of the line, kind of. I'm sure it only lasted a few more years after that. Big car, big 2-door car, right? I'm sure the weight ratio is like 65-35. It's like the most awful. It would probably be the most dangerous thing to drive around here in the winter. But the funny thing about it is, as humongous as that is or was, if you got in the cabin, it was tiny, and your feet were squished together because the middle tunnel from the transmission or whatever of the engine was so humongous it intruded into the inside space of the car. It was really small inside, which is where it counts really when you're sitting there, obviously. And so I looked at a Toyota MR2, which is a really small car, little
Spider,
T-tops,
yeah, the Spider.
Tiny. I couldn't get in. It was too small.
My buddy had one. The thing was great. He had,
the funny thing is, I bought a Volkswagen Beetle, new Beetle.
Yeah, you fit perfectly in that.
Fit in it. There was a foot above my head.
That's so funny.
Because this thing is shaped like a baseball. There was
There's plenty of room.
a tremendous amount of space in that car. It was a stick shift. It was sort of fun to drive.
Do you drive stick at all? Like, do you do it
That's
now?
all. Until my most recent cars, that's all I drove. I've always had sticks.
Yeah, I had a couple sticks, and then I realized
first car was a stick.
I
most
hate
of my cars have been stick.
I hated it.
I love it, except when you're sitting in traffic.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're in New York, so I'm always, and then some ass comes right behind you,
So here's the problem I have with cars. Like a lot of modern cars will have, and actually my two, the BMW and the Mercedes, both have this kind of thing where you can. It's an automatic, but you can kind of push the stick over, and then you can go like up and down. You can kind of row it like a pseudo stick. And then some other cars will have like the flippers on the back of the steering wheel. This is not what I want. What I want is an actual stick shift. And then when traffic occurs, I want to flip a button and have that car just be automatic.
Well, you could do that.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, no, they never do it that direction. They always take an automatic and add manual shifting to it, which is baloney because there's no clutch. It's just you just flipping your fingers or whatever. I don't want that. I want an actual manual shift transmission, but that has an automatic mode, like a drive, just for drive.
I would love it. You know what? That's actually pretty cool.
Just for traffic.
But with the paddle shifts, some of them are just that. You can't, like a lot of like
just
the
all it
sports
is up down. It's just there's no clutch. You just flip and switch.
You want a clutch.
If I want to play a video game, I'll go home and play on my Xbox. I want this. I want to shift it. I love controlling a car like that. And I know this is like a lost art, But fortunately, that Volkswagen I was just talking about, I don't know, fortunately, but for whatever reason, that Volkswagen that I bought in 2000, my son is driving now. And so he learned on that car and he will drive it into the ground. It has already aged horrifically since he's taken it. But
that's great.
It's 15 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good age car for a kid like him because he's not going to take care of it. And
you mean a brand new Mustang is not a good idea?
Yeah. He's he's smart, as you would think, but he's also really stupid, And so there are things like, driving around with the oil light on for a week and a half before you ask about it, or the battery keeps dying and we bring it in to get it serviced and they're like, there's nothing wrong with it. We charge it up. It's fine. It's holding a charge. There's nothing wrong. And then after like 3 episodes of this, we're like, you're turning off the lights when you get out of the car, right? And he's like, oh, I thought that was automatic.
Oh my God. That's funny.
And it's like, it is in our new car. It's not automatic in your 15-year-old car.
Oh my God. That's
that
awesome.
kind of thing. So there's a lot of that. And it's going to fall apart. No one's going to want, no man will want this vehicle when he's done with it. It's,
since we're talking about cars, Lincoln's bringing back the Continental.
Oh, really?
This thing is stunning.
Really? That I have to see.
Yeah, it's a concept for the Continental, and it's like this thing is unbelievable.
Oh.
It's a 4-passenger, not a 5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to make concessions, right, to the world as it is today.
It's
okay looking. It looks like a Maserati kind of thing.
Yeah, it's pretty. Look at that.
Jaguar.
Look at that. We're coming back, baby. America's coming back.
Yep. Nope.
This is how we're doing it. One car at a time. All right, Paul. That's it for this week, guys. Next week, the schedule will be crazy.
Will be variable.
We'll figure it out for next week. All right, guys. See you next time.